And just like that, Alabama's 5-star list of commits grows as Xavier Griffin commits to Bama.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you, everydayers, for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every single day. This is the second show because Xavier Griffin did commit just like we thought he would. There was no doubt in our mind. And somebody actually in the comments on the previous pod we did this morning was like, man, y'all sure seem sure about this. And I was like, I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be a shock to us if he doesn't commit to Bama.
Ball knowers. That's us.
Soothsayers.
Ball knowers. Soothsayers. I like. What is a sooth?
I don't know, but he talks a lot apparently. Now.
Hey, that last show, we got the Smiths wrong, by the way. It was Maurice Smith. Not Geno Smith. Geno spent 4 fabulous years at Alabama.
And Geno's also the one I think that made the big play in the 2012.
He made a big play in the SEC championship game. One of those years he was there.
2012.
Might have been. It might have been. I mean, he was a good player. He's a big time prospect. Meanwhile, I just hate that we inverted the Smiths there, but this is what happens when you throw too many Smiths at us at one position.
Yeah. So, but now let me tell you what we
back to Zay.
Back to Zay Griffin, because this guy is a superstar. I'm telling you, this guy has 3 and done written all over him. I just hope all 3 are at the University of Alabama.
I really feel like he's 2 5-stars and not just one. And I mean that. Yeah. I know that sounds silly, but what I mean by that is, well, if you play him at the edge, you play him at Wolf, and he may play Wolf. Christian Robinson was recruiting him at Alabama, which says Wolf. He's a 5-star type prospect at the Wolf spot. You could also move him inside, and he would play for Chuck Morrell at either the Mike or the Will, probably, or the Sting. That's what they call it, Mike and Sting. I think he's probably more of a Sting than a Mike, although those spots are kind of interchangeable. Point being, he's a 5-star prospect outside. He's a 5-star prospect inside. He could potentially play both spots. Alabama's had a small handful of freaks over the years, particularly in the Saban era, that played inside on 1st and 2nd down and then moved outside on 3rd down. Zay Griffin can be that dude. You're sort of getting a 2-in-1 with him, and both of them are 5-star type prospects. I really like this kid. What a weird coincidence, though. He only played 7 games as a junior. So did Zay Hall, the linebacker that committed on Friday. Just kind of a weird thing there that they both were limited in their junior year in terms of games played. But huge fan, Xavier Griffin. Speed. That's the number 1 trait, no question. This is a fast, get to the mesh point defender. He flies. But the reason he's ranked so high is when he gets there, he makes a play. Gene Stallings used to say about some defenders, he arrives to the ball carrier in a bad humor. That's what Gene Stallings say. I immediately think of that watching Zay's tape. Big hitter and a crazy big hitter, considering that his number 1 trait is speed. You don't often see that combination of speed and physicality like you do with this dude.
Tim Aaron says this guy's a Derek Thomas clone. First of all, shout out to Tim Aaron for putting his actual picture in the little avatar thing, because I think that's cool. We
don't even like putting our picture on YouTube.
We don't like if we could what we could do. I could just do this all the time. Wait a minute, let me find it. I can just do this for us all the time. But all right. But no,
the show would be so much better.
It probably would.
That would improve the show.
Okay.
Other than somehow some sort of IQ booster that we both need, that would make the show good. But I think the Simpsons photo.
First of all, and shout out to Kenneth, who needs to put his picture in his avatar. He says, thanks, XG, for coming to Bama. XG is his new nickname, 100%.
XG? You like XG?
Oh, I like XG. It sounds like the new model of a BMW that's just going to be awesome.
I like Zay, but we're coming through our ears with Zays all of a sudden. We got Zay Hall on Friday. We got Zay. He's got Zay. We used to have a bunch of Smiths at DB. Now we got a bunch of Zays on the team. Zay Horton, Zay Hall, now Zay Griffin.
I did get somebody to say we like the disheveled picture of Jimmy. Anyway, okay. So I want to go back to the Derek Thomas talk because
that's really not crazy. It's not crazy. I know that'll be crazy to some people. It's not crazy because the size and the speed probably pretty similar, frankly. And I know that sounds nuts, but really is.
5 Adam says intermittent fasting is the best diet. I feel like he's talking to me.
I could use some dieting and fast.
All right, but here's the thing about Derek Thomas to me. A lot of people watching this probably don't know because they weren't a lot. Derek Thomas was my dude. I mean, it might be Devontae Smith, it might be Derrick Henry now, it might even be Bryce Young. I got a bunch at the top. But every time, or Deuce Palmer, every time I think about who's your favorite Alabama football player of all time, I always go back to Derek Thomas. Maybe it's nostalgia. But so if this guy is 1/3 of Derek Thomas, I'm on board. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. Derek Thomas was different. He had 27 sacks in a season, and they only played 12 games that year.
Yeah, he had a monstrous career in one season. He had a monster career in a season. And by the way, the season before, I'm sure, he had like 17 sacks, the year before. Derek is the best pass rusher of all time. In my opinion, he's the best college pass rusher of all time. No question. That's true. I think he's one of the better NFL pass rushers of all time. Zay is a little different. X-Man is what C-Rob called him. He's a little different than Derek in the sense that he's a little more. Derek never really played inside. Every now and then he would line up standing up inside to get a different angle at rushing the passer. But Zay could end up being literally an inside linebacker. And if he is, I think a decent comp for him inside is C.J. Mosley. But I think that really, if we're going to comp, I'm going to stick with Jihad Campbell. I didn't originate that. I'm just copying others. But I do like it because I think they're similarly sized at the same age, and they both project inside and out. And as we know, Jihad was primarily an off-ball inside linebacker at Alabama, but the reason the Eagles took him in the first round is they plan to use him outside on occasion. So I think that's very descriptive of the kind of players Zay Griffin is going to develop into. Yeah,
and look, again, somebody mentioned, hey, let's hold off on the Derek Thomas talk. I get that. I'm with you. Okay, number one.
I get it.
Number one, we're excited right now, so that's where these things start to come in.
We're not saying he's going to have 27 sacks or even 17 sacks.
I don't know this will ever be
saying that.
I don't know. Look, hey, how about this? If he's Will Anderson-esque, we'll take it. And Will Anderson was way up there, but Derek Thomas is on his own.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's like Derek in the sense that Derek's number one trait. Like, why was Derek great? Speed out of his stance. So is Zay. That's his top trait. Getting after the quarterback, speed out of his stance. That's Derek. That's Zay. Now, is Zay Griffin going to have Derek Thomas's career? Almost certainly not. I mean, because that's a lot. That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody brought up, hey, Alabama's only up to number 9 on the On 3, which is now On 3 in Rivals. And that's right. That is a little wonky to me. Now, maybe it's only because they have 14 commitments. I don't understand it. They've got 3 5-stars, 7 4-stars, and 4 3s. And I'm looking at some of the people ahead of them, particularly LSU, who's got 2 5s, 7 4s, and 2 3s, which is very similar. They've only got 11 commitments. They're 3 spots ahead of Alabama. And I'm like, I don't know. But let me tell you all this.
Expecting us to do math is the same thing as expecting Zay Griffin to be Derek Thomas.
Exactly. Let me tell you all this. After this week, after July 5th, when it hits midnight on July 5th, I'm telling y'all right now, Alabama's going to be way up there from where y'all think. And we're going to talk about that and what else is coming down the pike. We're still very, very excited about Xavier Griffin, and we're going to keep talking about him, but there's some other good news on the way. But let's tell you about FanDuel right now. FanDuel's absolute best. Appreciate them being a sponsor of this program. Sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights or golf on the greens or high-stakes soccer action, whatever, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You already following the action? You know you are. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game with your friends while they or people who aren't enjoying it are getting sunburned on the beach like a bunch of suckers. Look, go check out FanDuel today. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Go to that app, and you will love it. Okay. Zay, I'm really, hey, look at this. Byron Walker says, roll tide, Mr. Jimmy.
Hey, thanks, Byron.
You know what?
He feels bad for you're on vacation. He feels bad for me. I'm at home.
I'm sitting there like a jar of TT on a stump, and you not saying nothing to me. Okay.
People put jars of TT on stumps? Who does this?
I grew up in a very small town, Jimmy. All right. So Xavier Griffin, and look, I get it. Some people are like, how's Alabama only 9th? I'm going to tell y'all, midnight, July 5th, it's going to be a lot different. I'm telling y'all.
You want to go so far as to say number 1? You ready to say that?
No, I'm not ready to say number 1 yet. And
Might be.
Might, and I need to do the class calculator thing on it and see.
God, no math for
I
me.
feel incredibly good about Cedarian Morgan. I feel incredibly good. Like that. I felt good about Xavier Griffin. I feel much better about Cedarian Morgan committing to Bama. Okay. Then you've got Edwards. I don't feel as good about Cedarian. I mean, as I do Cedarian, but I feel good about it. There's 2 more 5-stars right there. Brian Williams. Feel very good there. Feel good about
Owen Cabell.
Owen Cabell. I feel good about both those dudes. There's 4 more dudes right there. And I feel like I'm leaving somebody else. You mean who?
Nolan Wilson.
Nolan Wilson. There we go. Nolan Wilson.
Top 100.
You put those 5 dudes in this class. And I'm not swapping classes with anybody. They may not be ranked 1, but I'm not swapping.
No. It would be phenomenal. And again, it gets back to even when people say, where are all the commitments? They were saying that in February, March, April. Well, these are the targets. These were the guys they wanted, and this was the time they were making their decision, and it's typical of a lot of guys, and this is how Alabama likes to roll. Hey, shout out to Courtney Morgan and his staff for not only landing these guys, but the commitment sort of stacking them in this way. The theme is summer rain, REIGN, but it kind of feels like it's raining commitments, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a nice little double entendre. They did a good job.
Yeah. They doubled up. They didn't settle with 1 entendre. Double entendre.
Almost a triple entendre. For those who remember the double rainbow thing.
Hey, me and you are fired up about Owen Cabell. I know he doesn't have the rating that some other guys have, but I'll repeat what I said 2 shows ago. 1 year ago, I was convinced 1 year ago today that Ryan Williams was going to be great. I mean, I was convinced as I could be, and I think he's already proven that he's great. I am equally convinced as to Owen Cabell, but I'm convinced that he's going to be good. I'm not selling y'all that he's going to be great or an all-timer or a first-round pick. I'm just as equally convinced that Owen Cabell is going to be good. And it's just because he checks every box except rankings. He's long, he's fast, he's productive, he's got good hands, he's tough. I mean, I don't know what people are waiting on. Now, he hasn't played against premier competition. It might take a year or 2 to settle in on that practice field at Alabama. He ain't going up against Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown in practice. That's going to make him even better when he gets to Tuscaloosa. But it can take a year or 2 to adjust to the freakish level of talent you see in this league.
I'm going to do some rapid fire on some of these comments. Will P says, Luke, what's your thoughts on Auburn right now? I'm going to tell you something. It's going so poorly for Auburn right now. I'm nervous that I'm overlooking something. It is going really poorly for Auburn right now. I don't understand why.
That quarterback they got's pretty good, though, right?
He is, but he's got a lot of work. I mean, I read up on him. Like, he's a fantastic athlete, but he's got sort of a weird throwing style. People are
They flipped
he's
him
got
from
a lot
Penn
of.
State,
He's
right?
the developmental guy, which is fine because they have Deuce Knight behind him. But I'm looking at some of the other recruiting stuff going on. They've lost a lot of commitments. Some offensive linemen they thought they were getting they're no longer getting. I don't know. I can tell you this: the Hugh Freeze golf controversy, that's a real thing. I mean, there's some people actually upset about that. I can tell you, and I'm going to tell you something. If he were my coach, I would be very upset. Now, somebody can say, well, why can't you just have some off time? Because you've had 4 losing seasons in a row. That's why.
Imagine if you wore a T-shirt while playing golf and not a collared shirt.
What if you said,
what you can't do, by the way, I don't think in most of these nice golf courses, you're not even allowed to do that. But he might.
How about this one? Audio Truth says another avatar picture. God, what a handsome man.
Boy, that's a great question.
Jimmy, I'm going to throw one out there. CJ Mosley comes to mind. Obviously, Cornelius Bennett comes to mind. I'm going to throw one out there that personally I saw. I didn't see every game or any of that. I would put Ryan Anderson in the discussion. Now, he was sort of a defensive end and linebacker kind of thing, hybrid. Right. But I loved me some Ryan Anderson, and I've said this a million times. I've been on the field for a lot of Alabama, Mississippi All-Star games. He's the only man that ever scared the crap out of me while I was interviewing him. I wasn't playing in the game. I thought he wanted to hit me.
He was a
some of y'all probably
physical, intimidating guy. I want to give that great question some more real thought. I'll just say what comes to mind, and he could be talking about inside off-ball linebacker or an edge rusher playing the linebacker position. But for these purposes, I'm going to answer it like he means off-ball inside linebacker, today's stand-up linebacker. I'm going to say CJ Mosley, but only because, I did see him play in high school in person a few times. And as a matter of fact, I remember the very first time I saw CJ was a spring jamboree May game in his 10th grade year. And I'd never heard of him, didn't know him, but Theodore was playing at Daphne. And at the time I was, we were going through Daphne, and I'm like, so I stopped. We're coming back from the beach. We literally stopped back from a beach trip, and I went directly into Daphne Stadium, and he was wearing number 1 for Theodore and lined up at Mike linebacker. And I'm like, who is that guy? I mean, I had to look. I'm like, who is this guy? And I hunted down his name and watched him the whole time. And I'm like, this guy's going to be a star. I love CJ Mosley from the jump. And boy, ended up being pretty good. What was that long thing? I didn't get a chance to read it.
That's why I put it up there because I didn't understand it. Somebody said Rolando McClain. That's a good one.
That is a good answer. I just never saw Rolando play in person, but that's an excellent answer.
Reuben Foster came up, but I think
he played his senior year in Alabama. And before that was in Georgia. I'm not really sure that should count just simply because he played so much of his high school career over there. But
I'm with you on that one.
I would be up there.
That would be like Oklahoma claiming Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. I'd be kind of like that. But Reuben was a fantastic high school player. I'll tell you what, Reuben almost set the standard for tape at an inside linebacker. Reggie Ragland will be up there, in terms of other Saban stuff. But I'm going to stick with CJ as my answer.
Quick story on Reggie. I got to call him in basketball for the state championship, either Final Four state championship. He was a 9th grader, and he was absolutely dominant as a 9th grader. And I was like, everybody's telling me this guy's going to be a linebacker. I don't know why he can't play basketball. But of course, he made the right choice. I'm just saying.
Gifted athlete.
So Xavier Griffin, to wrap up, commits to Bama. This is monstrous. This is huge. Everybody go celebrate. And look, it's Sunday. Y'all go pop a cold one and enjoy this. Things are looking up big time. I'm going to give one more refresh to the 24/7 rankings and see if they have refreshed yet. They have. Alabama has moved up to number 8 in 24/7. So, oddly, with 247 points. How about, what are the odds?
Yeah, they do rank him. Should get a big jump there because 24/7 ranks Xavier higher than the other services rank him. So this is a huge shot in the arm for 24/7 rankings because on the 24/7 site, he's way up there. So that makes sense. Alabama was like 30 or something in the 24/7 rankings like 2 weeks ago. I would encourage people to celebrate each commitment and not so much look forward to that. So it's not like, okay, Zay's in. Now let's start talking about Owen Cabell. We need to celebrate each commitment it's kind of like a win. You should celebrate it for 24 hours, not just start immediately breaking down the next game. I mean, it's fun to get these big wins. This win is huge. This kid was committed to Southern Cal for a year, but this was an important get for Alabama because I know he's from Georgia, but he grew up in Alabama. He grew up in Huntsville. His family's Alabama fans. This is a kid Alabama should have been a serious contender for. They were, and they sealed the deal. Great job by Christian Robinson in particular, and Courtney Morgan's whole staff.
All right, that's going to do it. We will be back. We'll be back tomorrow in the morning. Then we'll probably be back for Mr. Owen Cabell's commitment. Or is Brian Williams tomorrow? Brian Williams is tomorrow, right? No, Owen Cabell's tomorrow.
Cabell's tomorrow and Brian Williams is Tuesday.
That's right. I got to mix. I keep thinking today's the 30th. I don't know why. But anywho, I should remember June 29th because it will forever be now Xavier Griffin Day. So, all right, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, roll tide.
Roll tide.